Hi, everyone. We're excited to close out the day with some great sessions. Please welcome to the stage Pablo T. Rivero of Global Corporate Payments at American Express. He's going to talk about their Killer Content Award-winning campaign. Welcome, Pablo.
Good afternoon. I realize that I'm pretty much the last thing between you guys and happy hour, so hopefully I can make this a little bit engaging and we can all get a drink afterwards. So my name is Pablo Rivero. I'm the Director of Awareness at American Express, and I lead all of the content strategy globally for Global Corporate Payments. And before we begin, I think it's important to notice that, it's a minor miracle that I'm standing in front of you guys today, I think. And let me tell you why. So it's not like I overcame the Zika virus or survived a natural disaster, but I did go through one of the most traumatic experiences for people today, which is traveling for work. And let me tell you why, right? So 3 weeks ago, when they asked me to come and present, I had to go first to my travel company page where the company has negotiated preferred rates and vendors so that we can save some money on our business trips. And I go in there, I book my trip. It doesn't matter if you need to take 3 layovers from New York to Phoenix, but at least I save the company $30, right? So, they got something out of it. I get my ticket, and then comes the day of the trip. For you guys keeping track, this Sunday was -1 degree in New York. This morning when I left, it was probably 15 degrees, and at 5:30 in the morning, I realized that I'm the only crazy person standing out there on the street waiting for an Uber, because not even the Uber drivers want to be driving at -1 degree weather. I had to wait for a yellow cab to take me to JFK. So I say the receipt, obviously, need to submit that for my expenses. As I'm pulling into the airport, I'm pulling out my app with my boarding pass, and I take a look. In front of me, you see the most beautiful sight at 8 a.m. in the morning at JFK, 300 people lined in security. So to top that off, the guy in front of me has no appreciation of what a shower can do for you, the human body. And now you know that your business trip is actually going to a great start. You get into the security. You start to take off your belt, your shoes. It feels like you're getting undressed in front of a bunch of strangers, right? You're just meeting them for the first time. You go through the security machine hoping that you're not the guy that's going to hear the beep and have to go all the way back while everybody's waiting. I go in, show my boarding pass, pick up my shoes, pick up my belt, pick up my bag. And I realize it's 7:45 in the morning, and I'm starving at this point. I go get a bagel, and hopefully I can sit down and send some emails. But 350 other people also had the same freaking idea, and every single seat is taken at the terminal. So I'm standing there with my bagel in one hand, my coffee on the left hand, my bag with my computer on my shoulder, my carry-on bag. I'm just trying to get my bagel done. Somebody's just running late to the airport, hits me on the shoulder, spills coffee all over me. And the day just keeps getting better and better. You hope that the flight's going to be okay. You get in. As I'm going through the hallway in the airplane, I'm not flying business class. Obviously, we need to save the company money. And I'm in the economy, going to my seat, and I notice that the guy in front of me, there's only 2 seats left. There's a guy in front of me with a carry-on bag that can probably fit himself and myself and my family in it. But somehow he got his carry-on in, right? And there's just one empty space for the bins. And I know that that's going to be his. He takes it, puts it in, and I say, okay, hopefully by the time I get to the back of the plane, there's going to be something empty. Fool me, there's nothing. I look at the flight attendant. She smiles and says, sorry, sir, every single bin is taken. Now we got to check your bag, right? So check your bag, what does that mean? Are they going to put that in front of everybody else? Are they going to take it to the check-in counter, right, to go through the actual process? They just take it, right, somewhere. As far as I know, it's attached to the back of the wing. And you're just hoping that that bag gets there on time when you get to Arizona. So I sit down, put my seatbelt on, they close the gate, and then you hear the captain, good morning, people. It's 8:30 in the morning, JFK. We have 27 planes in front of us ahead of departure. Please keep your phones on airplane mode. let's be realistic, guys. It's 27 flights ahead of, planes ahead of you. There's probably 30 minutes that you're going to be sitting on that tarmac, and you know that nothing's going to happen with that airplane mode, or you hope that nothing's going to happen while you are texting away and doing some internet searches, downloading songs on Spotify. So I try to get the best out of that before the plane departs. You know, the flight attendants comes in, and you just like hide your phone so that they don't yell at you because it's not on airplane mode. And by the time the flight is departing, that's when you put it on airplane mode because you don't want to be responsible for a tragedy, right? So there you know that you're in the air. Something can happen with your phone. You're not sure, but you don't want to be responsible. You put it on airplane mode and just wait for 10,000 feet so you can connect to the Wi-Fi. So pull up my laptop. I need to send some emails. It's a 5.5-hour trip from New York to Phoenix, and I don't want to be on the ground 5 hours later with 187 emails to respond. So I try to connect to the Wi-Fi, and when you're trying to log in, it tells you right there in big red lines, this is not for HBO Go or Netflix or Amazon Prime. But it certainly feels like it, right? It reminds you of 1997 when you're trying to get online and downloading a song on dial-up because you're only getting like 1 megabyte per minute. And you know, there's 200 other people on the plane trying to do the exact same thing. So it's very slow connection. I get all my emails. I try to work for a couple of hours. Obviously, my battery dies after 3 hours, so I get some work done. I land, great weather in Arizona, and then the contest begins, right? The contest to get to be the first out of the plane. Everybody needs to be the first out of the plane that they're giving away $500 gift cards. Like, guys, we just got here. Everybody's gonna get out of the plane at the exact same time. It's okay. So you wait for everybody to take off. I have to wait for my bag, and then I have to wait for my rental car shuttle company. And I realized at that point that I think my rental car shuttle company is the exact same preferred vendor for everybody else in Arizona because there were 200 people in front of me. I know that I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds, but it does feel like that. You get to the rental car, pick up my car, drive 25 miles to get here. We're supposed to be in Phoenix, but this hotel certainly feels like it's in New Mexico. We get here. All of you guys decide to check in at the exact same time that I did. I, check in, get my keys, take the golf cart to my room, go in there very quickly, change my shirt, come running to the stage, and now here I am giving this presentation. So hopefully, you guys enjoy it. And it's a good presentation because if not, I just went through hell and it was not worth it. So, raise your hand if some of you have lived some of these experiences that I mentioned. Okay, a handful. Great. And then what's the other thing that's happening back at the office? You have your program administrator or the owner of your travel policy thinking that they're just paying for you on a vacation to go golfing on Scottsdale, right? You're traveling for business, right? What they think is that you're just teeing away at 8 in the morning and submitting an expense report for $2,000 3 days later. But in reality, is that we're traveling for work, and for them, the travel program, for them, is important to save the company money. That's who our customers is trying to do. So in full transparency, guys, I didn't go through all of this. Some of you do, but I didn't go through all of this because I do have an American Express corporate card that saves some of these pain points that I mentioned, but not everybody has that, right? And the travelers today do have those pain points that I mentioned. So American Express Corporate Payments is more than that travel card provider. We are a B2B payments organization. We procure to pair solutions and corporate cards. But more than that, we're advocates for our customers. And when we think about advocacy, it's important to know what's in their mind, what's keeping them up at night, what's driving their business decisions. So when we think about content and our content strategy, it's important for us to really understand what are our audience's interests, what is keeping them up at night, and what's going to help their business run better. Only then, once you know that, you're going to be able to add some value to that partnership and to that discussion. And once you are able to add value, that's when your customer is going to give you the opportunity to talk to them about your product. Before that, they don't want to hear anything at all about you because they have things to do. So identify the interest, provide some value, and then they give you the opportunity to talk about yourself. And when we think about the challenge for content, it goes beyond just being aligned with the value that you need to deliver to your customer. For me, that I lead a global team, it needed to be global in nature. And when I mean global in nature, it doesn't have to be just something that you just publish out there and translate it into multiple languages, right? That's not enough. It needs to have that local flavor. It needs to be locally relevant. So think about, doing content strategy not only for the business in the United States, but for 7 other countries in multiple languages, right? So my content strategy needs to fit this. Third, it needed to be aligned with what we offer. So when you think about the resources that content marketers have today, anybody here can go out there and hire 100 freelancers and have 1,000 articles in 24 hours. Anybody can do that. But how are you going to create content that at the end of the day is going to lead that customer and prospect to your solutions and to your products? That's important, right? So it needed to be aligned with that, and it also needed to be flexible enough to be adapted across multiple formats, across multiple audiences, and across multiple languages. So these were some of the challenges that we were having with our content strategy, and I mentioned that our customer, which at the end of the day is that travel buyer, that person that needs to say, today I'm going to switch my travel program to American Express because they understand me. What they are looking for is for someone to help them manage their travel policy better. So today, the workforce has changed tremendously. That's not new news. Millennials are pretty much the majority of it. And they have different incentives for how they like to follow policies or not follow policies. Like everybody wants to use their points. Everybody wants to use at their preferred hotel where they're going to get the best status. But for a company, it's important that employees know how to make better business decisions for the organization. So that was the key need that we were getting from our customers. And American Express, that's definitely a business travel expert. We've been in the industry for 40 years. We're definitely market leaders in this space, but we also don't have every single answer to every single pain point that our customers are having, right? So we needed to identify someone that has that expertise to complement ours and do a joint marketing strategy together and leverage that research with them. So we identified the Global Business Travel Association. They are the largest business travel association in the world with 7,000 buyers that are ready to buy the products that I sell and that care about what GBTA can publish. So great partnership is how that we identified them. So when we thought about our content strategy and doing based on research, there's 4 things that we keep in mind, right? So there's the research itself and the survey that we do. And I'll go into details in the next slide. But that survey, that data is not necessarily public. We use it at American Express to follow trends and to compare quarter to quarter when we do our research. But it's the holy grail of all the information that we want to publish out there. Then we go into the white paper. So I know that this morning and this afternoon and tomorrow we'll keep hearing that it's all about snackable content. If we all get $1 for the number of times that people say snackable in this conference, we probably would be paying for a ticket admission for this conference already. So the white paper for us does play an important role. For me, the white paper, what it does is just a centerpiece and the anchor of the campaign. When you're publishing short-form content that pulls from the white paper, you're providing the opportunity for that prospect and that buyer to learn more. You don't necessarily need to publish and put money behind that white paper, but make it available to that reader that does want to understand more, that is interested in the methodology, that is looking for more information. So the white paper plays that role of the holy grail of the content that people can consume, and every single form of short content feeds from that white paper and that research. And then we think about our audiences and our channels. There's a 2-way communication here. So we have 2 sets of audiences, which is our customer and end user or buyer that is going to buy that payment product, but also our sales and account development organizations. It's not enough to just go to the sales and account development people and say, hey guys, marketing pulled out this great research and white paper, read it. And your content strategy will be, your sales cycle will be a lot shorter, right? They are on the road 40 hours a week, even more, just selling every day. So for them to take an hour and a half to read through all the content that you're publishing out there It's very hard and it's time consuming. It's not productive for your organization. So you need to be mindful of how you're going to publish the content out to your salespeople. So, a couple of examples, specifically about the research. So this is the Business Traveler Sentiment Index that we publish with GBTA, as I mentioned. It's done on a quarterly basis. It covers 800 respondents across 8 countries. So pretty much 800 respondents in the US, 400 respondents in 7 other countries across Asia, Europe, and Latin America. And the number is important because when you're doing content and research, the PR team and the reporters are really going to look for the number of respondents that you're having. A survey that has 100 people is not going to catch the attention of somebody at the Wall Street Journal or Forbes. They're really looking for surveys that have 400, 500 respondents and above. So 800 respondents quarterly. It covers 7 different sections, which I'm not going to bore you with, but it covers trip experience and expense tracking, travel management policies. And after we do the survey, it comes up with an index. So that index, we try to aspire to be the Consumer Sentiment Index from the University of Michigan. This index, what we're trying to do is showcase the level of satisfaction of business travelers on the road and what that means to productivity and to the companies that are sending these travelers around the world. So the sentiment index eventually will be able to hopefully predict business travel behavior. If people are scared of traveling, if people are getting more frustrated with the technologies that they're using, potentially they will say, you know what, I would rather do this presentation on the phone. I would rather do this presentation via telepresence than getting on the plane and going through all these experiences that I just described. So that's the research. From there, we did create the white paper, and we not only created one white paper, we created 2 white papers, so we're even more boring, like the person mentioned this morning, right? But people do share white papers. They mentioned 72% of people do share it, right? And we do serve it up to our people in our content hub. We don't necessarily promote it significantly, right? I don't put paid content behind the white paper. I don't do a lot of social media posts specifically about the white paper. But it's there for people that make it a priority for them to really understand the data, especially reporters. Reporters really like the white paper because they can go through that data in detail. So we created a long form one that has around 15 pages. If you really want to have a good night's sleep, you should read it. And then the short one is around 5 pages, highlighting some of the research findings and the insights and recommendations. So from there, we do create some short form content, and this is an example of some of the videos that we've done for this specific research.
Ask most business travelers and they'll tell you it's not where you travel, it's how you travel. American Express has partnered with the GBTA Foundation to survey business travelers in 8 countries. The goal, advocate for the business traveler and their productivity on the road, and help companies improve their travel programs. What do we learn? First, business travelers around the world are expecting to travel more in the coming months. And when they do, most travelers feel safe and agree that their companies and travel vendors do a good job looking out for their safety. But there are points of frustration, namely, getting through airport security. Companies can help ease stress by making other aspects of air travel as convenient and comfortable as possible. And what's must-have technology for business travelers? Wi-Fi and mobile apps. Both help them stay connected, be productive, and manage expenses as they roam. Learn more about how business travelers around the world are feeling today and how you can plan for tomorrow with our full report, the GBTA Business Traveler Sentiment Index, July 2015.
So you're probably thinking, wow, you discovered that people want Wi-Fi and they're frustrated with security. Wow, new news. But reality is that if you think about my buyer who is sitting back at the office trying to save as much money as they can, their travel policies in many occasions, we've seen this with our customers, prohibits, for example, from reimbursing for Wi-Fi connectivity. So if a traveler is on the road and needs to connect to the Wi-Fi, sometimes they have to pay for it themselves. The company's not going to cover it. And the point that we're trying to make is that think about that salesperson that met with a prospect that said at 9 a.m. and said, okay, send me the materials later on today because I have an important meeting at the end of the afternoon, and it will be helpful to have them. So the salesperson is on the road. He knows that he's not going to get reimbursed to it and says, oh, I might just connect to it when I get back to the hotel or at home. What happens? You miss the opportunity to connect to that buyer right away. They wanted that information right away. So when you start cutting into, the Wi-Fi expenses, for example, because you need to manage the P&L, you're not taking into account the productivity that you're taking away from your salespeople, for example, when they're on the road. And that's what the research is trying to cover. It's not only about cost savings, but what is the impact on productivity and satisfaction for your travelers on the road. And that's when we get into the research. So we did do, other short-form content. You have, traditional infographics and data visualizations, everything served on our website. We did this specific piece, which was a listicle. So, we got inspired by BuzzFeed, right? And, a lot of people here probably go into BuzzFeed, and when you think about B2B, you don't necessarily associate BuzzFeed with it right away. But as it was mentioned this morning, we are marketing to people. The people that go to BuzzFeed are probably a travel manager, that's the day job, that it doesn't separate them. So it's not like I'm going to create, a campaign on BuzzFeed or anything like that, but I can leverage their formats because it's driving a lot of engagement. So we created a listicle that took a look into, reality versus wishful thinking about business travelers. And it covers things like, business travelers, they really want a gym. So whenever I'm doing my negotiations, I really need to put a gym in that contract. Just stay at hotels that have gyms because that's what my travelers want. Reality, they could care less. Right? Like, as long as they have a good Wi-Fi connection and they can get their work done, that's what the research is showing. So it was an interesting piece of content that we did. My boss didn't even want to do it because it was different from what we've done in the past. I went ahead and did it anyway, and it has performed the best piece of content that we've done in all of 2015, driving a lot of engagement, a lot of conversation, and sometimes it's even funny. You see these people fighting over, comments saying, how can you call yourself a road warrior if you're only traveling 5 times a year? I travel 15, and then you have somebody else, well, I travel 20, you guys are not road warriors at all, and what am I doing? Just reading the content and the LinkedIn feed, just feeding itself and getting shared and shared and shared. So, as long as you are able to put content that people want to consume in the format that they want to consume, people are going to be talking about it and be sharing that content for free. And then, another example, last example that I give is when we think about our audiences, I mentioned it, right? We have our buyers and our salespeople and our account development people. And they don't have time to read all this stuff that we're putting out there. What we created was getting a lot of input from them, and we created a specific piece of content that is just for internal consumption. And this is an interactive PDF that connects the insights and findings from the research with specific value propositions that our products can solve for. 75% of the time, we do have a solution, right? We do have a solution for getting Wi-Fi, for getting TSA pre-check and things like that, right? 25% of the time, we don't have the solution because I don't offer something that would alleviate a particular pain point for a traveler on the road, and that's okay. It's okay to tell your customer, listen, I can help you with these 7 out of 8 things. The 8th thing, I can show you where you can get it. We have seen this in the marketplace. These are some of the solutions provided that can help you with that. So when we did this, the field, or we call them the field, the sales and account development people, they really took the time because it takes them 10 minutes to make those connections between insights and value proposition, and they also can take these slides and put it into client presentations very, very easily. I didn't ask them to read a white paper. I just asked them to read one piece of content with all the information in it. So, when we think about channels, we have our own channels, which is our website. We have our content tab in our business on AmericanExpress.com. That's where the content gets uploaded and is given away for free. We don't have gating capabilities. We don't put requirements for email addresses. All the content is given away for free. We have our partners channels, GBTA. I mentioned 7,000 members. They have a conference. They have webinars. They have newsletters. So all the content gets distributed through that as well. And obviously, earn and pay channels. So some of the results that we saw with this campaign, unique traffic to our site increased 240% year over year. Phenomenal results. 43% above benchmark organic LinkedIn engagement. That's our primary social media channel for corporate payments. The insights tool, which is what I mentioned, is that sales and account development content piece that we created. So at American Express, we have our internal microsite for people in the field to go in and download the latest product brochure, the latest pitch deck, the latest information on benefits and disclosures. And there's probably, I don't know, 300, 400 pieces of collateral they can download across multiple channels and formats for the customers and segments. This specific piece is the number 5 most downloaded piece of content in that inventory. And then we did do some emails, and we saw 30% higher email open rate. From a paid perspective, not a lot of money went into paid over here. We do test sometimes with paid strategies on social. So on LinkedIn, we did see 50% above benchmark on LinkedIn engagement rates and 25% above benchmark on Twitter sponsor rate. Twitter is an interesting one. Not a lot of B2B buyers from the payment space specifically are on Twitter, but we did try it with a specific campaign, and it did perform really well. And then earned channels, right? So I mentioned it was a partnership with GBTA. The PR side was a true partnership with them as well. Both of the PR teams aligned on the press release, what the quotes were going to say, which reporters, who was going to reach out to. And you can see that it got 100 million impressions across a number of publications, including Forbes and Mashable and Yahoo Travel. And impressions, it's just eyeballs to me. To me, what's important about the impressions is that I'm able to track how many people are coming to my content hub from that specific press release with a specific external link that we created. So around 15% of the traffic from the original release of the content comes from that press release. So I'm able to measure the impact of the PR in the content consumption space. So some lessons learned, or more I wish I had known. It would have saved me a lot of time and trouble. First, that survey that you are going to create is never final, right? We do the survey on a quarterly basis, and we can track change in performance in the index. And I thought, great, we're going to do this 35-question survey, and it's going to be out there, and that's it, right? Reality is that your buyers are going to ask for more, right? You're telling them about Wi-Fi, they want to know about TSA PreCheck. You're telling them about TSA PreCheck, they want to know about global entry. So be able to create a survey that is flexible enough to add more questions to it, or to change questions in and out on a quarter or yearly basis. So learn from your findings from your social channels so you can adjust that. Second, for us, it's really important to sell it internally. American Express is a big corporation with a lot of partners that had to put input, including our counsel office and our compliance team, and it's not the same as coming to them at the end of the product and saying, hey guys, here's this white paper, please approve, I'm going to publish it out tomorrow. That's not going to happen, right? So what we do is we really sit down with them in the brainstorm stage and say, this is what we're trying to do. This is how the campaign is going to look like. This is the messages that we're going to put out there. These are the channels that we're going to get them out there. And get the red flags early in the process so that when you come to them a week before release and say, I really need you to approve this white paper, they're comfortable with what you did because they were part of that specific process. And then be okay will be different. We heard that this morning, and we'll probably hear it again. But something so simple as a listicle was a big thing for American Express. Was woo, in corporate payments, we don't do that. But it's okay to try it out, right? Word things that happens, it gets published. Some people see it in a couple of days, and then you can take it down, right? So, as long as you're in your comfort zone of what's appropriate within your organization, try different formats and try to different kinds of content and see what sticks and repeat it again. So, with that, I want to thank you for your time. I hope it was worth it, and I know that we have another panel in between us and happy hour, but if you guys have any questions, I'll be out there at happy hour too, and here's my LinkedIn profile if you guys want to reach out, and I'll be hanging out here as well. Thank you.